I'm coming. Oh, jeez. Oh, let's rail. Well, hey, rail fans, welcome back to my hobby room to the Brown Smith Railroad, where today we're gonna tackle the tops for the benchwork, for the framework that we worked on in the last video. To do that, I'm gonna use something I had left over from my patio cover on the top of it. I believe it's actually called MDX, but you're gonna hear me call it plywood. I'm gonna continue to call it plywood because I'm a regular guy and it's my railroad. But this has been sitting in my backyard for a while, not in the best shape. You can see here the top of it is the laminate's coming apart. About the first 3 inches or so is kind of splayed out. So I'm gonna lop off the top 6 inches of that to give me a nice clean and flat edge. Below that, look down here. I have no idea what that is. I should be wearing gloves, probably. Is that mold? Is it mildew? Is it some alien being growing on my wood? You should have seen the spiders that came off this thing. There were some with bodies as big as my pinky. Anyway, whatever. Take off the top 6 inches, measure out and cut a 2-foot piece and give the rest of this to city recycling. So let me grab my saw, let me grab some measuring tools, and let's just get on this. All right, so the first thing we'll do is just mark out 6 inches with my square and then use my 3-foot level as a straight edge and draw a straight line. So with that done, let's get to cutting. Let me stop right here for a second. You can see this is pretty flimsy, right, as I'm cutting. And by the time I get to the end, it's gonna wanna snap off or something. So a little trick I learned is to rotate and set that up on the table, making sure the blade isn't cutting into the table, and then we just keep on cutting. Look at that. Ah, that's a regular guy thing. Well, there you go, cut one, done. It wasn't rocket science, right? Matter of fact, neither is the precision on that cut, I'll bet you. Would I like it to be precise? Of course I would. Is it? Probably not. I'm just a regular guy ripping this thing with a skill saw, but it's probably gonna be close enough for what we're doing. So listen, not rocket science. Gonna go through and finish the cut to get the 2-foot piece. I'm gonna cut the other piece of MDX, plywood, and then I'm gonna set it up there and we'll go from there. Okay, well, to double check my measurements, everything, I came over here with the tape measure and measured the bench work and made a couple of remarkable discoveries. First thing is, the pieces aren't exactly the right length across members. And I told you, it's not precision cutting, but what it means is the front of the bench work's just a little bit warped. That combined with the fact that my wall back here is also not straight, and I screwed that back 2x4 to that, continuing to warp the bench work. But I could just cut this like we're supposed to and then screw it on. But I've learned that if the plywood hangs out over the bench work, it's a pain in the buttocks later on to put the fascia on. You gotta do something, you can't leave it like that. But if it's too short, you got like a 1/4 inch gap, an 1/8 inch gap, you gotta fill in with something between the plywood and the fascia. So I just decided what I'm gonna do, and it's gonna be hard to see it. I'm gonna go underneath, right now I've got it set where I want it. I'm gonna go underneath and mark out the face of that bench work with a pen, with a pencil, whatever. I don't know, whatever I'm gonna use. And then I'll go through with the skill saw, follow that line. Hopefully when I put this up here then, it's going to fit perfectly with the bench work. We'll see what happens when I'm done. Okay, so my wife, Cindy Brown, the first lady of model railroading, is off doing first lady things. Give me a little time here in the hobby room. I went through and marked out the bottom of the MDX like I showed you, and then I cut it out. Actually, when I cut it, I went about an 1/8 of an inch over, just to have some wiggle room, some flexibility. I don't know if I needed it, but it's gonna be hidden by a backdrop and scenery anyway. Why not just have the extra level of precision? I don't know, a word that shouldn't come out of my mouth ever. But the net result is the technique worked great. This is flush all the way down. I'm pretty sure when I screw the fascia up to that, it's gonna be really tight and look really good, even though my bench work wanders around just kind of like I'm doing right now. Let's get back to work. I want to glue and screw this down all the way across and then move on to putting the backdrop in. To do this, I'm going to start by using this. This is Type Bond Original wood glue. I'm going to glue all over the framework and then screw it down. That's going to make it nice and tight. You don't necessarily have to glue it down. I like it because it's just that extra level of that you get. That's the thing. All right, laid it back down. All the edges are as flush as they're gonna be. Let's get some screws in this. Okay, for this I'm using whatever screws I had left over from the other layout. So they're drywall screws, they're longer, they're shorter, but we're just gonna screw this thing down. There's one. Let's get the rest of it done. I'm spacing these roughly every 8 inches, something like that. Like I said, as long as it pulls it down there, that wood glue is gonna bite in and just hold it in place. We just need to get it all set up nice and neat. Something like that. I'm gonna get the rest of them. Well, there you go, glued and screwed. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't go crazy with them screws. I didn't need to. I got glue down on there. All I needed was the screws to pull the MDX, the top, right down into that glue so it bites in, and once it sets up, heck, I could pull the screws if I wanted to, but I'm not going to. Anyway, one of the things I didn't show you before is down on the east side, I notched out the top to give us some more access to that receptacle. That receptacle that's gonna be the enduring saga for this entire build. Like I said, we got some solutions for that. We will see how that goes moving forward. I also cut out and screwed some pieces to the bottom of the benchwork to make room for our water feature that is also under development. I don't know how that's gonna turn out, but for now, at least I have something to put something on. Hey, another thing is, when I was cutting all this wood out here at the top, I also cut out some tempered hardboard to use as a backdrop. I took some 4x8 sheets and ripped them into 2-foot wide sheets, and I'm gonna mount those right now. But as you can see here, it's 2 feet, and yet at the very top, I've got 1.5 to 2 inches, depends on where you go, of drywall up there that people are gonna see when they're standing here admiring my monorail, and I don't like that so much. So I've got a solution for that. We're gonna see how that goes. But the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put something here on the wall to butt the backdrop up to before I screw it down. And you're gonna kind of see why as we move forward. First thing is I'm gonna just get a piece of wood, make it flush, plumb, level. What's the word? I don't even know. Right here, and then I'll show you how that's gonna work. Okay, with that in place, let me show you kind of my idea for what I want to do next. If I put that in there. I want a curved backdrop here. A lot of guys will go straight, and that's fine if that's your thing. I kind of like the curved look. And so to get that by myself as a one-man show, what I did is I put this cleat in there to butt the backdrop up to. I'll just give me a second to give you an example of that. If I put this up here, like that, see, I could, well, it's not showing it very well, but I can shove it from the other end into that cleat, get this arc to happen, and then screw it down. But before we do that, we're gonna have to lift it up. Let me get the camera back over there and show you how I'm gonna do this.
And why am I bleeding on the top of my hand? I don't even know how that happened. I didn't even feel anything. Look, there's blood. There will be blood tonight. Oh, am I still recording?
Okay, now for the fun part. I've got the camera way over there so you can see what happens. Giving you another example of what I intend to do. I get this down and kind of in position here. And then I'm hoping that by shoving it that like that. That's all, I think that's all we're gonna get. Then I'll drop a screw in there, screw that down over there, and I got a curved backdrop. It's the regular guy way. But what I need to do is I need to raise this up a little bit to get it up to there. So I've got some pieces of 2x4 I'm gonna put underneath this, and I'm gonna go through what I just did again, if I still have the strength and breath, and then I'll screw this thing to the wall. Okay, well that's fun. I just tried to do that. The shelf above isn't level. That's the regular crap. All right, so we're just gonna screw it in place and I'll paint that blue up there afterwards. I don't know what else I can do. So that thing I just did, I'm gonna do it again. And my hernia is probably gonna pop back out, but let's just do it. I've already got a screw in the screw gun. And so here we go, baby. Man, if you want to skip forward, go ahead. This isn't going well yet. Okay, it's up against the cleat now. And put my leg over that thing and then I think that's all we're gonna get. I'm not really happy with what's up there, but whatever. Oh. How about I put a couple more screws into that? And then this was the easy one, by the way. If you haven't unsubscribed yet, I would highly recommend it. Let me put the rest of the screws in. We'll go to that side and see what happens. All right, for this one, I'm gonna have to raise it up, and I got some pieces of 2x4 here to do it. Like I said, this is the complicated one because this is 4 inches shorter to get over that receptacle and for some other things I'm gonna show you later. So for right now, I'm just gonna place some risers, I guess, into position to set it on. Put it in the cleat that you saw me make. And then we'll just push that over and bend it into a circle. And there you go. Got the top glued and screwed, got the backdrop up. A little thing about the backdrop, I'll tell you. A little honesty here. Most of those screws did not find anything but drywall. I don't know how that happened, but the tension in the corners is holding it up. And there's gonna be no weight on it. So as long as it doesn't go anywhere in the future, I think I'm okay. We're gonna fix some of it with some drywall mud and tape later. Hey, just before I let you go real quick, you're gonna see this gap down here that I left. That is because I'm gonna have a track down here on a level and a track up here for the logging camp. I kind of want to be able to reach in and get to this track for cleaning, for derailments, because I never get derailments, but just in case. And then I think ultimately I'll have like a removable piece of fascia here. But we're gonna see how that goes as we move forward. Listen, some of these techniques I'm sure you already have discovered on your own. I mean, I'm not the one that invented all this stuff. I just watched a lot of videos and just sort of fly by the seat of my regular guy pants. So hopefully you enjoyed watching me do this. In the next one, we're gonna put in the risers to get from the bottom here to the mezzanine where the logging camp and the coal mine's gonna go. And then perhaps after that, maybe there's some track laying involved. Anyway, again, encouraging you guys, do what I do. Just shove off and make it happen. If it ain't working right, make a modification. Do not try to do it the way, no offense, Luke Towan does it, okay? Not all of us have the skills, but all of us share the same enjoyment for this hobby. So do it the regular guy way. Even if you're way back east. Speaking of the regular guy way, look at this comment right here. The regular guy way back there is to just raise this receptacle up to clear the benchwork. And that's thinking outside the box. Even though I have an electrician's license, was not willing to cut into the drywall and move it up. Anyway, sidebar, there you go. Hey, once again, thanks for being with me here today in the hobby room. I hope you learned something here. I hope you enjoyed yourself. And I sure appreciate you being here. And until I see you again, my name is Steve Brown. And rail on, my friend.